Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Thumbs up or awesome. All right. Well, here we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Carly Wallace. I'm wearing a black t-shirt today, like I always wear. This is easy and I don't have to think about it. I'm wearing a gold chain with a little dragonfly on it and some woven earrings. And I have kind of lightish skin, have some tattoos on my hands, and I have some kind of blondish brown hair. And that's what I look like. I am the director of the Disability Dialogue. So I'd like to welcome you back, or if this is your first time, welcome to an open dialogue. I'm a little bit crook at the moment. You can probably hear it in my voice, so excuse me if I'm not sounding the best. But basically what a dialogue is, it's a conversation where people with disability talk openly and frankly about the things that matter to us. And today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, or AI as it's otherwise known. And AI is computer technology that learns from information, and it helps people by giving answers or doing tasks for them. So I'm going to kick off the event and then hand over to our hosts today, which are Kelly and Sam, who you'll meet in a second. But I also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we all gather from today. And I'm joining you from Yagara country and Turrbal country here in the Brisbane region in very hot Queensland. I recognise their continued connection to the land and waters of this beautiful place we all call home, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. And I want to pay respects to elders and ancestors and any First Nations people here today. Feel free to also drop in any of the places that you're coming from today and traditional names for those places or mob where you're from. So just in case anyone is wondering, we also do those visual descriptions of ourselves. So people who are blind or have low vision know who is speaking and what they look like. So it's part of making meetings and events like this one and others accessible for everyone as much as possible. For those of you who have not been to one of our events before, welcome. This open dialogue is designed to be inclusive, accessible, collaborative, respectful, and most importantly, fun. So we encourage you to have your camera on when you can, if you feel comfortable with that. And we'll also be collecting all of your comments and questions in the chat throughout the event, and may even invite you to put your mic on and answer a question if you'd like to, or chime in when we get to the Q&A. AI is something that I think has been changing pretty rapidly. I think we can all say that much. And it seems to be everywhere right now. And how it is helping people with disability, well, that's very different for everyone. But what are its limitations and concerns? How can we make AI, or artificial intelligence, make our lives easier, but also make things messier? How can we make sure that people with disability stay safe while using artificial intelligence? These are all the topics we'll cover today. As always, we're really keen to hear from you. So like I said, please use the chat to send through any questions or comments as they come up. Just please keep the conversation respectful, or we might have to ask you to leave, and we don't want to do that to anyone. So you might have seen a survey also we sent through before this event. It was totally optional, so don't worry if you didn't get it. And we'll bring up a few questions we thought could be a kickoff for the conversation today. And we've got a couple of slides up for you. And the first question that was asked was, do you use AI? For example, do you use chatbots like ChatGPT or real-time transcription tools? So as you can see on the screen, we're showing a pie chart that says 28.6% of people who took our survey say, yes, I use it regularly. And 35.7% use it sometimes. 21.4% of folks who took our survey say, no, but I'm interested in using AI. And 14.3% say, no, I'm not interested in using AI. It's pretty interesting. And on slide 2, we have a slide that another pie chart. We ask people like, what impact does AI have on your day-to-day life? Well, 72.7%, which is a big percentage of people who filled in our survey, say it made life easier for them. But then there was an even split. Around 10% of the people who responded said it hasn't had any effect on their life. And 10% said that it had made some things in their lives a bit harder. And 10% said other. The next slide have pull-out quotes from people who completed the surveys. So the question was, do you have any worries about the increased use of AI or artificial intelligence for people with disability? As you can see, someone has replied, yes, AI generated reports and things that are moving away from person-centered. Accuracy of platforms information, security on data and data storage and privacy. And like many, I can see the good and bad of AI. It is with us already, and it's likely to increase. The control of AI will be interesting. Then we had another question. What do you think are the positives about the increase of AI for people with disability? And like it says there on the screen, no, actually would like to embrace it more and more. Somebody else said, no, if it's making life easier, then it must have bonuses for people with disability. And yes, awareness around privacy and how much information you give to AI. All valid points. And then the other question was, what do you think are the positives about the increased use of AI for people with disability? Someone said increased communication assistance for those unable to do so. Ease of searching online. So equipment used by AI making individuals more independent, and tool to assist with daily living.
Hey, Carly, it's Kelly. Can I just jump in for a sec?
Sure thing.
I've just noticed that on my screen, I can't see the interpreters. And they are stuck. So I just wanted to give everybody a chance that they might have to change the gallery view to make sure they can see the interpreters as well. So just jumping in, sorry, to make sure that if that's an issue for other people, that they've got a chance to hear what you're saying and see the interpreters.
Right.
So we might just, give people 10 seconds and then I'll remute.
No worries. And we've got a last slide on the screen. Hopefully everyone's been able to change their gallery view now. But our last slide is, what do you think are the positives about the increased use of AI for people with disability? And someone said using AI to coordinate and implement programs, strategies for people with a disability, and also that it's a tool to help people with disability to level the playing field. Interesting. And I guess there we go. Sorry, I was waiting for my slides to come up on screen. And what is one thing you hope to have answered or hope to learn during this event? People responded with, learn more about AI and how it can help people with disabilities. How can AI be used to create more awareness of disability in our community? And how people with disability are and can use AI to improve inclusion. Excellent. And what is one thing that you hope to have answered again or hope to learn? People have said, how can it help? Or how to protect privacy when it comes to AI, safeguarding the use or having to take back some control. So the use of AI is one tool. And how can we educate more of our seniors to embrace AI? So lots of opinions, lots of feedback, and we really love that. The Disability Dialogue is a project to promote inclusive, collaborative, disability-led conversations. So I also want to shout out to our partners of the Disability Dialogue, which are Dana, Disability Advocacy Network Australia, Inclusion Australia, Alliance 20, and the Melbourne Disability Institute. We are funded through an Information Linkages and Capacity ILC grant from the Department of Social Services. And also shout out to our media partners, Powered Media and Vision Australia Radio. Now, we do have a little bit of housekeeping as well to make sure that everyone has an idea of how today will go. And we want to create a safe, open and inclusive space for everyone. Firstly, very topical for today, AI tools are not allowed. So we know they can be useful, we know they can be a useful tool for people with disability, and that's one of the things we'll talk about today. But we also want to protect everyone's privacy. So we will be uploading a transcript to the event page shortly after this event is over, and we'll also send it to everyone via email. Secondly, we try really hard to stick to time to make sure we hear all of our guests and have time for everyone to hear you, our audience members. This means we might have to interrupt at times and move things along. So we're not being rude, we promise. That is it for housekeeping and for me for a bit so I can go and rest my croaky voice. Thank you all for joining us today. And I'm about to hand over to Kelly and Sam, our hosts for today.
Thanks, Carly. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly. I've got long brown hair that's straight. It sits just below my shoulders. I've got glasses with a black frame, and I'm wearing a dress. It's kind of a maroony colour with yellow and white flowers all over it. I probably, like Carly, should wear something that's a bit easier to describe. I had to think about what colour I was wearing. But yeah, so today's topic is one that's pretty interesting. I think there's lots of different perspectives and opinions about it. And at the Dialogue, we know that more and more people are starting to use artificial intelligence to help them with access and communication and participation. And that's why we wanted to have the conversation about the benefits and the risks. So we want to make sure that it's clear that we don't promote or recommend any specific tools or services. And we understand that people in our community have different opinions on how AI is used and what it means for them. But we really just want to start the conversation on how people with disability are using it and the ways that they are keeping themselves safe as well. I might let my co-host Sam introduce himself. Sam?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Sam. My pronouns are he and him. I work for Valid, and I'm also here today to discuss about AI. I'd like to describe myself as someone with short hair that loves their Sony headphones and their daffodil. Got a bit of facial hair, but that's all right.
Excellent. Thanks, Sam. And now we will introduce our first guest, Cecilio Philibon. Cecilio should be up on our screens. Yep, there you are. Hi, Cecilio. So, Cecilio, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself or if you want me to do a bit of a readout of your bio.
So, my name is Cecilio Philibon. I am from the Ghana country here in South Australia, and I am currently wearing a black bomber jacket with an actual tanned skivvy, short black hair. I am also wearing square black glasses, and I have a mustache, and I am also someone who's from actual Laos. So that is me in actual short description, and I work for the Multicultural Communities Council of South Australia.
Thanks, Cecilia. Cecilia is also a pretty dedicated disability advocate across Australia, for people with disability and for culturally and linguistically diverse people. So yeah, we really appreciate having you here today. So you work for the Multicultural Council of South Australia, as you said, and your workplace embraces AI in lots of ways. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the things that happen in your workplace and the way that you guys use AI there?
Thanks for that, Kelly. So here at the actual Multicultural Communities Council of South Australia, we actually use AI in many different ways. Some of which we use to actually do grant writing, some to actually use to do actual creation of video scripts or actual resource building for people from a multicultural background who do not speak English. And also a lot of our work is done around writing easy read documents, and also translating documents or actual audio recordings that our actual communities submit to us to actually communicate with us. And in my role as a program coordinator of a project called Connect, Access and Belong, I work with people with a disability who are also from a multicultural background, and they may not speak English that well and have to actually speak in their own mother tongue. So for me, who maybe perhaps I am working with someone who is Spanish speaking and they communicate to me in actual Spanish, I get that conversation translated through either over the phone or actual using AI such as Claude or ChatGPT to actually get that conversation translated, so that way I understand, and also the vice versa, sending emails to my actual participants, and they're sending information to participants about activities, so that way they understand what is actually out there in the community.
Excellent. And I just want to clarify for everybody, Cecilia, because sometimes we use big or hard words and it's not clear to everybody what it is because it's not words they come across. When we talk about multicultural communities, we're talking about people from all over the world who have come to live in Australia, and yeah, they might have different languages that they speak, and that English might not always be their first or easiest language to understand. So that's kind of what you're talking about when you translate and get some easier to understand words for people. Is that a fair explanation?
Yes, and also we may actually come across people who have complex communication needs, or actual people who use alternative methods of communication, and we need to use AI to actually communicate with those people. AI for us is very much a tool that we use to be able to communicate and say, if this person cannot read but is able to hear information, we will get that information converted to actual speech and have that in their actual language that they know or are familiar with, and they are able to hear that actual information.
So it really helps them connect with all the different things. And I'm wondering, because your workplace does embrace AI, do they are there policies in place? Are there boundaries set for staff members and ways to make sure that, you know, that it's not misused or people aren't at risk or privacy breached and stuff like that? Can you talk a little?
So certainly, I can certainly talk about that. Currently in our actual organization, we have someone who is a actual AI lead for us and keeps us up to date about the things that is going on in the artificial intelligence space, how technology is actually moving. And for us as an organization, we actually have implemented a policy whereby staff do not use their own personal accounts to actually access things such as ChatGPT or Claude or any other form of AI. We use our work emails, and that we strictly say do not include any personal information whenever you actually give AI information about what you want AI to actually do. We have actual policies around how we manage the actual information. And we also have our actual CEO very much updated about what we need to actually do to keep our actual multicultural communities that we are connected with about the actual happenings of actual AI and what we are doing as an actual state peak body for multicultural communities to actually ensure they are actually safe in the way that they govern and communicate with each other as well. So it is very much about that safeguarding of our data.
Yeah, amazing. I'll throw
Excuse me,
it.
Cecilio. And for everyone in the community that would like to ask this question, Cecilia, how can people, what can people with disability do to stay safe when using artificial intelligence?
So the actual way that people with a disability can actually stay safe when it comes to using AI is that they actually either have someone really next to them to help them guide and teach the actual process of how to actually use AI, and also guide them through what information to actually put into it. Also, not to actually include things such as your actual address or actual location of where you are, names of people, bank details, or personal information that you do not want to actually have the world know about who you are as an actual person, because AI very much gathers all of that information and is shared amongst the actual world. So for people with a disability, it is very much about being actual aware of the levels of security that you have on your computer, keeping your actual things such as antivirus safe as well, and also try not to use your actual microphones on all the time, or actual web cameras too, because that can also be an actual risk for yourself.
Thanks for that, Cecilia. I think it's really interesting. I also wonder, you use AI outside of work as well, don't you? At home. Are you happy to share a little bit of how you use AI in your personal life?
So the way that I actually use AI is actually quite interesting because my actual parents are from Laos. They don't speak English that well, and they actually have trouble catching up with the actual news and actually finding out about what's going on, or just wanting that little bit of information about something that someone has actually said. So what I do in my actual personal life is that I actually translate a lot of the actual information or audio recordings or actual videos into Laos. So Laos is the actual language. And for those who do not know where Laos is a country right in between Thailand, Cambodia, and actual Vietnam and Burma. And so I actually translate a lot of English information to my actual parents, whether that be in audio form or written form, and they are then able to read that actual information. And then if they want to ask me actual questions, they can actually do that, speaking to me in actual Laos. And I will then to slowly teach them how to use AI and also what the actual do's and don'ts are and how to keep them actually safe.
So it really is, yeah, across all aspects of your life, that you use it, and it sounds like it's a great help to your parents as well to help them kind of stay connected, and perhaps you connected also with language, with your language.
Yes. So what it actually that does is actually builds actual connection between my actual parents and also my actual relatives who are also um in actual Laos as well, because a lot of the actual information that is on actual Facebook, for example, and is most likely in the actual Laos language. I like to use it to actually go, this is keeping me updated about what's going on in my second country in actual Laos, and I can ask my actual parents questions and also give actual updates and information about what I am doing and what the actual work that I'm doing, and also using the different technologies that are out there in like terms of things such as Claude AI, which is a actual note taker, to actual just voice recognition software that is out there. And I can see that there is actual question in the actual chat box at the moment of have I had any concerns about using AI at the moment, and has it all been positive so far? And my answer to that question, thank you, Tali, is that the actual I actually had some actual concerns because when it came to things such as translating and also understanding the voices of people with a disability, as I have a actual stutter, it can be actually it can be daunting to see if AI would get the actual words that I was saying correctly. And given the Australian language as well, I thought maybe I won't try it yet. But what I have learned through using AI is that the more information and be very focused about what I want AI to actually do and understanding its limitations it can work well. It actually reduces a lot of workload in what I do, but also builds a lot of connections. The actual, I will just give you an example of the major concern that I actually had when we first introduced AI in the workplace was what about my job as actual developmental educator and actual program coordinator, and will it take away my ability to do my work well? But that was eased as I used it more and more and used it in different ways of doing video creation to document creations that actually reduced my actual workload and actual stress. It is very, very much touch and go when it comes to finding AI that will work with people with a disability well, especially when it comes to software voice recognition, because for people with a disability, it is very much hard because we all have different voice tones and actual stutters and abilities of speech. That's where AI lets people with a disability down, is that it still hasn't been able to grasp the actual area of voice recognition when it comes to people that actually stutter and are unable to communicate clearly.
Do you, Cecilio, do you find as you use it more, do the ones that you use and have accounts to, do they get easier and better for you? Do they kind of learn your speech patterns or not really? Because I've got actually no idea if they learn individually from us. I have enough trouble with just getting Alexa to do what I want a lot of the time.
So when it comes to voice recognition, the more that you actually use that actual particular AI tool, the more it will actually be able to understand your nuances or actually pick up little things about your voice and the way it is actually pronouncing words more and more. But it is still not there yet. It is still not there yet. As you can see with voice transcriptions on actual Zoom, Teams, Otter AI, you still have to most of the time fix up the actual words that it actually picks up. So it is an actual problem. And in regards to an actual question about the actual cost of actual AI, do you have to be very careful in the way that you actually pay for AI too, because you do, with the ever-changing technology in actual AI, you should never be stuck to one actual particular service or pay actual yearly subscription. It is actually better to use 2 or 3 forms of chat GPTs to just see the ever-changing nature of how it actually recognizes the way you think, the way you move, and also the thing that you want and its deep understanding of that. Because I've switched from ChatGPT to Claude to Copilot, because they all each have their little strengths and actual weaknesses to because of that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think we're going to jump to a break soon, but I think after the break we'll also hear from Zach about all the different tools that Zach also uses. So I think it's a really good point. And yeah, excellent discussion. Thanks so much for coming and sharing all of the ways that you use AI. I think that certainly for me, the way that It can be used for translation for people who, you know, have languages other than English is really interesting and a whole different train of thought than perhaps we were initially thinking. So really appreciate it. And please hang around because we'll bring you back at the end of the event as well, where we'll all have another chat and yeah, and get some more questions from the audience, hopefully.
Certainly. So certainly I'm more than happy to just hang around.
Amazing. Thanks, Cecilio. We're going to go to a 10-minute break, everybody. So go, yeah, grab a cuppa and we'll see you soon.
Not sure if anyone's all back yet, but I'll give another few seconds. Few moments. We have Oslo interpreters in the room. And we're back. It's great comments and questions I see on the page here. Let's hope we could keep those lovely comments and questions coming.
So thanks, Sam. And if people have questions in the chat, when you pop your question in, if you're happy or interested in coming on screen to ask your question, just make a note at the end of your comment, and yeah, if we've got time, we'll bring you up as mentioned earlier, and you can ask. Next, I would like to introduce our next speakers. So we've got Zach. So Zach Colton is an ambassador for the Make It Easy app, and Zach has an intellectual disability and he works 4 jobs. When Zach's not at his 4 jobs, he likes to hang out with his friends, watch movies and play video games. With Zach today is John Payer. John's an expert in information technology with a focus on cybersecurity and privacy protection. So super interested to hear from John today as well. John's also autistic and has a neurodivergent child. So a big welcome to Zach and John. And I will let you guys each introduce yourself and give a visual description.
Yeah, thanks, Zach.
Hello, my name is Zach. I am a young male living with an intellectual disability, wearing square glasses and a dark blue puffer jacket.
My name's John. I'm a middle-aged man, he, him, with a grey beard, blue jacket, and I always wear a blue or this type of hat, but today I'm wearing a blue hat, and I wear this type, which is a trilby, so that to make it easy for people to recognise me. Nice,
thanks, guys. So, Zach, the first question we've got is for you.
Yes.
I'm interested to hear just about the kinds of AI that you use and the types of things that you use it for.
I use the AI that I use is mainly ChatGPT, and I use it for various purposes. One of the purposes is that I use AI I also use Make It Easy as well. And for the Make It Easy side, I actually use AI for instructions for mac and cheese. So that made it easier for me to understand.
Yep.
And
So
for
mac
ChatGPT,
and cheese, Zach, can we just clarify for people? Do you mean like the box of mac and cheese?
yes,
It's a blue box with yellow writing or something?
yes.
Where you
tell us a story about how you did that.
Yeah.
How I did that is that I was hungry and I needed some lunch. So I got the mac and cheese box out and I didn't understand what it actually said. It was way too small for me. So what I did is that I fed it into Make It Easy, and it has said very easy instructions about what I was meant to do
Right, and make it
and how I
easy.
was meant to
Another one
prepare
of
it.
these tools like ChatGPT or the ones that Cecilia was just mentioning. Make it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used ChatGPT for work purposes as well. So we create courses. So we also do social media posts as well.
Mhm.
So what we do is that we create drafts for the posts. So we have it into plain language and we have it easy to read as possible.
Excellent. It sounds like it's really helpful for you in lots of ways.
Yes, it is.
I think Sam has a question around some of that as well, I think. So I'll throw to Sam.
G'day, Zach and John, and I'd like to start off by visually describing myself. Someone that has short grey hair, a short hair and a bit of a grey beard, and wearing a grey top. I'd like to ask a question though. Are there any things people with disability that people should know about using AI, and how can they stay safe?
You want to answer how
Um,
you stay safe, Seth?
Well, how I stay safe is mainly the usual stuff like making sure that you don't put your actual email, actual home address in. Make sure that you don't use your bank details, date of birth, anything personal. You can use a fake email address to make sure that that it's actually you, but that's actually a fake email address that you're actually using.
That's a pretty good tip. I wonder, Zach, have you ever been a bit worried that you did something unsafe, or has something ever gone wrong for you? And if that did happen, how did you deal with that?
I've been very careful with using AI. I used to use AI chatbots as well, but to help with my communication skills.
Excellent. And I guess you're pretty fortunate because you've got people like John around you who can help. We heard from Cecilia about having, good support to learn about it and understand it. And that's true for people without disability as well. Lots of people don't really know about AI. So I guess you're pretty lucky in that way because you have got John.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
And people need to so people with disability also need to realize that AI is not an actual person, it's actually a robot.
That's a really good point. It's not a human being, isn't it? You can't replace human beings, no matter how hard people try. Sam had another question, I think, or a comment.
Excuse me, John and Zach. I'm just worried that artificial intelligence will be used to replace real people in their jobs. Do you think the Make It Easy app will be used in that way?
No, look, in fact, we actually designed it specifically to help people actually participate in the community. So we designed it so that people who might have some kind of cognitive issues or, might be like myself or autistic, understand what's happening around them. So it puts the power of receiving communication into the person. So it helps me with my work every day, right? And so we think it's going to help people actually get jobs that they might not otherwise have had because they can understand things better and interact with the world better. It's not about replacing communication outbound. It's about helping someone receive information. And there's so many examples that we can talk about, like restaurant menus. Restaurant menus are they're meant to look nice and they're meant to use fancy words, and you're meant to enjoy reading them, right? But I just want to buy a schnitzel. I'm plain and simple. I don't want to know about all the other stuff that the schnitzel's coming with, or where it's sourced, or that it's got panko crumbs or anything like that. I just want to know that it's going to be a breaded piece of meat. And Make It Easy will help me understand that menu and cut through the other stuff that other people do appreciate and enjoy, but it makes that experience so much more accessible for me, or for someone who might have low vision or any of those things, because it reads it out to you as well, which is great.
Yeah, I also wonder, John, after hearing Cecilio, does it Make It Easy also translate into other languages? Sorry.
Absolutely. So what it does is I'll stress, it doesn't replace Easy English, because that is a specific language. What it does do is it takes complex language and translates it into simpler language, right? Plain language is what we actually call it in the app itself. And that's really important for us. In terms of the language, yes, natively, I think it's around about 90 odd languages. Very unfortunately, we don't have any Indigenous Australian language sets, but we hope that may change one day. But yeah, look, it'll translate into, I think it's over 90 languages now that we support. And we've tested it quite a bit with a lot of people who are native German, French, a bunch of Asian languages as well. And it's working really, really well for them.
I think it's really interesting. And I think, Zach, even though you're an ambassador for Make It Easy, as you said, you use other things as well, because I think, Cecilio also said that, it's a variety of things that work for different purposes for different people. And I guess you're an example of that as well, because you do use other things. And I guess the safety thing is always a good thing, that different things have different levels of safety. I wonder, John, if you wanted to talk, and we are going to go to questions in a minute. I'll have a check while you're talking of what we've got. But John, do you want to give us a little in kind of that same plain language that you were just talking about, that your work in cybersecurity and the ways that you see that people should and can keep themselves safe, and perhaps even the ways that Make It Easy can assist with that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've built, there's obviously different types of safety. With Make It Easy, we really wanted to have a very narrow focus. Okay, so we didn't want to try and be all things to all people. We really just wanted to help someone who is understand the world around them in a very simple way. And so we've put a whole bunch of safeguards into the app, so that, for example, if you're trying to ask questions or trying to interpret something that might be perhaps someone might be at risk of self-harm, or it might be asking some really complex questions about a medical issue or something along those lines, the app stops and says, look, this is beyond what we can do for you. You're going to need to get help. And here's some places that you can go to get that help as well. So we really try to help people stay safe in a physical way. In terms of privacy and data, look, we take a lot of steps. Like all things, everyone's going to need to have their own where they think they can be comfortable. But our policy is that we delete all the history, after 30 days. We don't store any information beyond that. And all of the information is stored on data center equipment that I own. And it's in here in Adelaide on Kaurna country. It doesn't go overseas. It stays here, and we protect it as ruthlessly as we can.
Excellent. I think it's been such an interesting discussion today in all the ways. I use AI myself. Sometimes I use it for just really to Google something that maybe Google I don't have all the exact words for, where I can be a bit more specific, where I can go, you know, I want to find a video that only goes for 5 minutes on this topic. And I just for that, for me, and I know that's probably a really simplistic way to use AI compared to what other people do, but sometimes I can't find the words like in a small enough way to fit a Google search. So even just that for me is really beneficial. I sometimes have to use it for just checking when I'm writing an email. Sometimes I'm a little bit blunt. I don't necessarily, I get so focused on what I want to say to people, I forget to put the nice things in, or so I often will ask ChatGPT to just to review what I've written to make sure it doesn't come across as rude to other people.
I had an example just a couple of weeks ago where a very, very dear long-term friend of mine, who I've known for 30 years, was diagnosed with a particularly aggressive form of cancer. And being autistic, sometimes it's really hard for me to find the words which are sensitive to the receiver, about, you know, because it's not about me, it's about her and her journey. And so I was able to use AI to talk about my feelings and then have that translated in a way that was sensitive to how she would be feeling. And I, you know, I reviewed it, made sure I was happy with that communication before I sent it. But for me, I was able to really communicate what I wanted to communicate effectively, that was sensitive to her needs at that time. And I wouldn't have been able to do that before without AI.
Yeah. And I think the thing that you've said there as well, that it's important for everybody to know, is to really check and review. If you do use AI, it will make things up sometimes or get things wrong. So it's not something to just copy and paste. It's a tool to help people along. And I did note that there was a question in the chat, so I'm just gonna have a look at that. This might be one for you, John, as well. So how do you teach or train AI to understand diversity if the creators or coders themselves have no understanding or lived experience?
So okay, I'm going to try and do my best to understand the question. I think from our perspective, it comes down to a very narrow focus. So we don't want to change the intent of what anyone's trying to say. We're just trying to understand it and use simple words or easy words presented in an easy way and a logical way. And so we're not trying to change anyone. We're not trying to change the intent behind the communication. And you know, yeah, look, it is a valid thing, that, you know, diversity is, you know, is going to come through, because it's the input. Yeah, it is a hard one to say. We're not trying to change anything. We're just trying to use simpler words or easier words.
And I think more broadly to that question is that I would say that, like with everything in life, people with disability have to be at the table. We have to be involved in training AI, whether it's, you know, Make It Easy or ChatGPT, or if we're not in there, and, you know, Cecilio touched on this as well with the speech recognition, if we're not there using it, then it's going to take longer for it to learn, or it perhaps may never learn. I am a bit mindful of the time. Can I
Can I just make one more quick comment?
absolutely. That was going to be my next thing to throw to you, Zach.
Even though you shouldn't treat AI like a real person, you should always treat it with respect. Otherwise, it will actually be all rude and nasty with you.
That's because it learns in your communication style?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So if you say, for example, if you say, if you swear at the AI a bit too much, it will do the exact same thing to you. But if you say, can you please do this so and so, it will actually say, okay, thank you for letting me know, I will do this.
Zach, maybe that's why Alexa hardly ever does what I ask her to. Maybe I'm just cranky enough. I do get cranky with Alexa sometimes. I'll have to try that. I'll have to try and be a little bit nicer to Alexa. I have one more question for either Zach or John. Because I know that there's lots of concern, not just with Make It Easy, but with AI in general and people using it for Easy Read. And like you said, John, Easy Read is its own language.
Yes.
But is there a risk that Make It Easy and ChatGPT and other apps will replace that kind of function where we have people with an intellectual disability who have jobs testing it, that it's really personalized and highly translated when it's created from the source documents? Can you guys talk to that a little bit?
Sure, I'd love to. I think it's really we are very much the receiver centric. So we're not about sending information, we're about receiving information. So with the artwork, novels, Easy Read, those things are so critical and they're really, really important. And the Make It Easy is for situations where that's not possible. You know, and it's the Easy Read is critical for formal communication where everyone has to have the same understanding. What Make It Easy does is it just does its best to understand communication that wouldn't otherwise be able to be understood. And in situations, you know, on your phone, you know, at a cafe, you're looking at a whiteboard that you can't read, and it will understand that and help with that. Would it be better if the cafe was more accessible to begin with? 100%. And this is where, you know, someone showing them, say, hey, look, I have to use this app to understand your menu board. Look, why can't you make it easier for me, please? Right? And putting that power there. You know, there's been countless examples where a good friend of mine has low vision, and she just always orders the same thing because it's just too hard for her to read a menu. And so just always orders the schnitzel because she knows it's always going to be there. You know, and wouldn't it be lovely for her to have a bit more diversity in her culinary habits? You know, through putting the power of receiving that information in her that works for her. You know, that because it reads the menu out to her, not just you know, translates it into a different language or easier language, but it actually changes. It actually reads it out.
Reads it out so she can hear what it is.
Yeah.
Well.
So you know, so Easy English is about sending information. Make It Easy is about receiving information, and they're two different concepts, and one will never replace the other.
No, so hopefully there's a world where it's complementary and yeah, people can, because I mean,
100%.
Zach, you cooking that mac and cheese Would you have needed a support person or a support working with you otherwise, Zach? What
Um,
would have happened if you couldn't follow the instructions and nobody was there?
Hungry.
I would go hungry or use the really bad option and look on Uber Eats and spend outrageous amounts of money.
Yeah. Good old Uber Eats, it can do that, can't you? It's a budget hitter.
I suppose I've got some other questions as well for Zach and John and everyone else in this room today in dialogue. Cecilia mentioned this before, I believe, First Nation and languages. There are multiple languages for Aboriginal and First Nation people here in this country. And that I'm wondering as well that it's all not perfect and it's all not defined very well. How are we going to get the First Nations people from every single mother tongue language they would use for AI? Is AI being written in Auslan? Is it actually tested in EasyRead? I suppose there's 1,000 of things that come to my mind, and there's pros and cons with this. AI definitely serves my purpose with what I need to use it for. Whether it's cheap and one thing, that's one thing to consider. I'd also like to ask, who are going to monitor it? Is it going to be just supercomputers or people with disabilities? Like we get sick, all computers get sick. What are going to be the protections? I wonder. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. It's
Yeah,
Carly here. I just want to say, Zach, Zach and John and Sam and everyone who's been chatting today, and Cecilia, I might bring everybody into, I guess, the last bit of the Q&A at the moment, because I can see we don't have much time left, but I just want to say they're all very valid questions, Sam, and I don't know if any of us in the room have all of the answers fully yet. I think with AI, it's like a lot of things in technology that have come along, and like Kelly said, it's hopefully an add-on to our lives, and it doesn't take our jobs, and that we can still be human, and that we don't have me personally Terminator 2 coming after me with those steel arms. That's what I think of when it comes to it sometimes. So
I reckon you need to follow Zach's advice and just use your manners when you're talking to AI.
yeah, use your manners.
Yep.
Siri also doesn't listen to me as well. I think, yeah, there's lots of pros and cons, but I want to just bring back Cecilio for this last bit as well to join. Cecilio, just like we were talking then, what do you think is some of the biggest challenges for people with a disability with AI?
So I think the biggest challenge for people with a disability when it comes to AI is one, actually understanding the actual technology and how to use it well, firstly, and also their support workers or people supporting them knowing how to use it well and safeguarding. So secondly, the fact that AI moves so fast and actually changes so fast, and trying to keep up to date with the actual changes is actually very hard to actually do. So, because when it comes to any sort of assistive technology, people with a disability tend to like to stick to that one thing because they know it actually will work well for them. But with AI, it is like an actual moving train, or our brain, or the actual ocean. It actually moves quite rapidly and it changes in different ways. So for people with a disability and the actual community as a whole to keep up with that is going to be very, very challenging. As it gets bigger, it actually gets better. So my actual suggestion is that people have someone that they can talk to that knows about AI. Ask some questions. Be actually curious about the things that are out there, try them out, and actually make actual suggestions to those actual companies of how to make it better for not only you, but people with a disability out there. Because the more that people with a disability use AI, and the better it will become in actually helping us as people with a disability, and actually getting the people who make these actual software to actually understand the actual needs of people with a disability. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, good points. There is a question from Andrew Fairburn in the chat. Andrew, did you want to jump on and ask your question? Good to see you over there in, I think, WA, hey? Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, I'm off mute now. Thank you, Carly. This is an absolutely fascinating conversation. I love this. Image description: very old guy, grey beard, short hair. Very, shall we say, my digital literacy is good, but it could be a lot better. This is a whole realm of information and a place where I'd love to go more. I see so many benefits in AI. My question is actually for Zach and John. And the question I've asked is, I've just completed my training and assessment to become a trainer and assessor, Cert 4. And we were actually encouraged,
Congratulations.
thank you, to use AI to question and to get more information and gather information. What I built within that 3-month period of me doing that training was actually some prompt sheets. So my question to Zach and to John, and also Cecilia, you could probably answer this as well with your work. Do you have prompts for questions that can get to a better answer and filter out all the white noise, which I know that Sam has also pointed out in the chat, that misinformation, disinformation. So can we boil it down to, if you want a specific thing, how do you use AI in the way it's designed to do, to prompt to get a better answer? Thank you, Carly.
I'll start by saying, with the Make It Easy app, the prompt is at the back end, and it's written by us, and it's like 4 or 5 pages long. Okay, so us, and please, I'd love you to go to makeiteasy.com.au and download the app and have a play with it. It'll be fantastic. It's free forever. If you for 10 photos per month. But look, what it does is it just takes a photo and then just describes what's in that photo. And if there's text in that photo, it'll describe. So it's not about that prompt engineering. That I'm ecstatic for you that your course has actually shown a bit about prompt engineering. It's a whole career now, and that's really exciting that's being brought into all aspects of that. And you're right. If you ask silly questions, if you ask garbage questions, you will get garbage answers. And knowing the right questions to ask is really, really important. And I'm sure Cecilia will Cecilia will talk about that as well.
You are certainly right, John, because the actual thing that we actually, so our actual AI lead has taught us to actually think of the actual AI as if they are the friend next to you, and that you are trying to explain something that you want them to actually do in that actual regard. So in your actual circumstances of trying to create this actual training program, give it as much as information, and then what you can actually get the actual AI to actually do is go, can you please write this as actual prompt for me to actually reverse engineer the actual information? And it can actually do that for you as well, and actually create that actual specific prompt, so that way it actually understands of what you want, and then actually goes about doing that properly. And we also do what's called the actual role that you want it to play, the actual task that you want to actually do, how you want it to be done, the actual timely manner, and also the actual personalization aspect of the overall prompt. And then it will actually spit out the actual beginning of what you want, and then you can make those actual refinements. In the way that I do, and the way that I use ChatGPT, for example, is that there is an actual section in actual ChatGPT where you go to say make it personalized. You give it an actual outline of what specific thing that you want it to actually say and do, and how, and then it will be saved in its memory bank to actually, whenever it actually spits out information, it will spit it out in that manner for you.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
I follow on with Sam and John. It's always good to always have prompts, and a good way is to make sure that you have an appropriate question for ChatGPT or any AI software that can give you. If you give it a really silly question, it will obviously say, it will either say, I'm sorry, I can't do that, or it will say something that's not actually directed at the question.
Can I jump in with what I do when I ask AI questions sometimes? I'll ask the question and then I'll say, before answering me, ask me 5 clarifying questions. So then AI
Awesome.
will ask me questions, trying to work out in more detail what I'm trying to find out from AI. And if that doesn't make sense, I'll say ask 5 more. And I did it with a bio pretty recently. I need to write a bio, 10 questions about what about me, and then and then I've got a really simple bio. But yeah.
I'm a little confused. What would be an example of a silly question for AI? Would it be the way that we're saying it or the context of the question? Because for me, I sometimes say that there's no difference between the two. But what would be an example of a silly question for AI, such as Gemini and Siri and Alexa? I don't know, can't really name them properly.
Who wants to answer that one? And if we don't get all the answers, we've only got about 6 minutes left. So if you have questions, but I might get John and Zach to answer that one if you wanted to before we wrap up.
Sure. Look, when I say silly, what I mean when I use the word silly is not provide enough context, ask leading questions. You know, you should always be trying to test your own biases as well, because ChatGPT and Gemini can sometimes just confirm what you wanted to say rather than actually challenging you and saying, no, actually you might be wrong here. And so, you know, it's you've got to treat it like you would another human being or a human being, and actually really try and ask questions that are thoughtful and as you know, Kelly really nailed it with, you know, make sure before you answer, you ask me these questions for clarification, because that does provide the context and everything else, and that's a really great way to get the best possible result.
Thanks, John, and thanks to everyone for your questions. I know we could speak about this forever, I reckon, and I think we might have to come back to AI as a topic in the near future, given it's going to change rapidly over the next few months and years. So I think the Disability Dialogue will definitely revisit this one. So save all your questions for then, and also let us know, because we'll answer those after this through our mechanisms as well. But thank you again to all of our speakers today, to Cecilio, Zach and John. You were incredible to hear from. And thanks to Kelly and Sam for co-hosting, and to everyone who interacted and asked questions in the chat. Pretty awesome conversation today. So the speakers also shared their experiences with certain products and apps. And at the Disability Dialogue, we would never recommend or promote any products or services. This is simply just shared for your information, so you can decide what's right for you. This has been a super interesting convo, as we said, and like many of the topics at the Disability Dialogue, we could talk about it for much longer than an hour and a half. But next month is actually our last event for the year. So we'll be reflecting on what's been a really big year for the disability community. And we've got some great guests coming, and which will be announced soon. So make sure you register so you can be one of the first ones to know, and come and jump on another one of these open dialogues and have a chat. But we'll put the link in the chat now so you can register for that ahead of time. And you can find it also on our Disability Dialogue website under events. And one last thing, we want to hear from you about what you thought of today's event. So if you have a few moments to complete a survey, we'd really love and appreciate that. So when this event finishes, the survey will pop up on your screen. It's also available now in the chat. And there's also an easy read version as well. So please do tell us what you think about it all. And we're looking forward to seeing you next month. And thanks again for joining us all today. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all. And I loved it.